Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Hey, welcome back again, and the whole reason for this program is so that we can interact together. We can create something together. And to be able to have something out of your memory, which is wonderful, and yet at the same time, to be able to explore how to do this without risk to our families who we love a lot. You know, that's the whole idea of springboarding. Well, this time, a couple that love each other a great deal and have a wonderful son and are into homeschooling and all that sort of thing. I think it's about time that you met Carol Saya. Now, Sai as in sigh, and then I hope I've got that right, Carol. Anyway, Carol, I know how to do. Now, Carol and Michael, her husband, have been missionaries. Carol is Norwegian in her root, and Michael is partially Italian. So, I don't know what that makes Michael Jr., but hey, real American, eh, Mike? And Michael's about 6'7", and so Michael, I put this tie on for you. I reckon if I just look over all of the kids here, Michael's right about there, about 6 or 7 years of age, and you probably know a few of these other guys, you know, because of your travels. Well, what do you want to do? What do you want out of food? Well, Carol told me that at the moment they're all very fit and wonderful, and so they're just keeping on that 30% calories from fat. They want it to be healthy, and they like their meat. They like exotic things because they've been in exotic places, and they brought that back. This is how you get to know about how exotic it can be for this food preference list that we sent out. And just look at those top 3 national cooking styles: Indian, Afghanistan, and Lebanese. I mean, that's the first time, you guys, that we've had those kind of 3 selections on the top. And stews, that's the first time that I've had a cooking method as a stew as being, and mostly meat, you know. Well, I understand you like meat, and that's fine. It's just how much meat. And then seasonings are cardamom, cumin, and cloves. I selected those out of the many that you do like because those sort of move together in doing this thing, as well as cinnamon. Okay, lamb. Now, lamb is your #1 meat, and you really enjoy that. That's not a really terribly popular meat in the United States, but I agree with you. I think it's wonderful, especially when it is lamb and hasn't gone over the hill to be hogget. It's kind of sort of an ammoniac kind of smell. You know what I mean? Mangoes, and you like those when they're really in season. They get to be a bit expensive, and you are really big on miniature green peas. So am I. I think it's, you know, we serve no pea before it's time. I would get a bit concerned about them being so small. Carrots is another one. So anyway, so we put all of this together. You sent me a favorite recipe of a palow that you had in Afghanistan, and so we went for reducing the fat and increasing the flavor a little bit. Come and show you how it's done. Well, this time, because, of course, of Palow and any one of those sort of dishes, really relies upon rice so much so that the actual springboard we're going to use today, the technique, you know, hopefully that will work, this springboard is how to use rice so that it's like a miniature sponge. Let me run around some of the potential rice for you. This is a long grain brown rice, very good rice. And this one, by the side of it, is a very interesting one. This is the converted rice. It's like this, the nutrients have been driven into it by being partially cooked. You see, it's a slightly creamy color to it. Good rice, that. Then this is basmati, which has a lovely, fragrant smell to it. It's very refined, comes from India, and there's a Texmati as well from Texas. This one here is the sticky rice. This is the stuff that conveniently comes together when you've got chopsticks. And so those are steamed and boiled normally. This one is the regular long grain rice, not converted. You can tell the difference if you just look at that one against this one. This is creamy, and that's a sort of a lighter, whiter color. And then here, we've got the arborio rice, which is this fat, gorgeous rice which is made into risotto in Italy, in northern part of Italy. Now, the big thing about all of those rices, with exception of the sticky one, is each one is like a miniature sponge, and if you put it in water, it would simply soak up the water and taste, well, a very little, actually. Now, if it soaks up stock, as in this case, it will taste wonderful. And spiced stock, as in the case with this dish, even better still. Now, imagine that you're going to serve a lot of rice and very little meat. This is because the meat has so much flavor and attraction to it. And what are you going to do if you're going to cut down on the meat? You've got to make this rice come alive and full of vitality. So, the principle is, take 1/3 of a cup per person that you're going to serve. Now, I want a 4 portion, that's 1 1/3 cups. Right? And then get some stock, exactly double the amount of stock to rice. That's a simple thing to remember. When you put it into the hot stock, give it a good old turn around, just like pasta. Make sure that it's completely separate like that. Put the lid on, like so. And all we're going to do is just to add just a little bit of saffron to that. Just a tiny drop of saffron, which, by the way, is powdered and is, in fact, like this. These are the stamen from a crocus. And you have 250,000 of those which go to the pound. That's one reason why it's $4,000 a pound at the present moment, and the price is probably going up. All right, now let's see how we get all this together and see what's on the menu.
Today on Graham Kerr's Kitchen, Afghan lamb palow, fragrant steaming rice seasoned with an aromatic braised lamb.
Now, what I normally say at this present moment is, okay, Carol, let's go for it, all right? But this time, okay, Michael, let's go for it. I just think it's just terrific that I've got the opportunity of being able to have someone in homeschooling who can actually watch and learn to cook, which is fun. All right, now, here I have the piece of meat which I'm going to use for this, and it comes from the shoulder, and it's from the blade area, and actually, as you see this bone here, I'll dig the bone out for you, this is the actual shoulder blade bone. And so if that comes out, you can see what it must be like, because it is that part of the shoulder which moves a lot, and because of that, it builds up a lot of collagen. And it's very tender, but it's also juicy at the same time, not dry. All right, so if you take 2 pounds of this meat, fat on, bone in, you're going to wind up with 1 pound of meat just like this and a whole bunch of bones. All right, let me show you what you do with this. In the pan, I'm just going to put just a little bit of oil in there, just 1 squirt. That's enough to just ease the bottom of the pan for what I want to be able to get onto. These you just drop down, just the little individual pieces of meat onto the bottom surface. Now, it should start to hiss when it gets to the bottom there, you see, as it's hissing. Now, I don't want it at the kind of temperature where it will start to bubble with its own moisture, because lamb, in fact, most meat's about 70% moisture content. And so what you get is, if it's a sort of a dull pan, what you get is this bubbly gray liquid which occurs around the outside. What I want to do here is I want to drop each piece down and let it try and find a piece of pan of its own, and then just seal itself down on one side. All right? I want the other sides to be left free so as to be able to get the juices which are going to mingle around it really into the meat, but I want to pick up a brown quality on that side. Fine, okay. Now here's the meat, the bones and the fat which came away from the 2 pounds of meat. You find you get about 50-50. You get a pound of meat and a pound of bone. And put that underneath a broiler, and it's probably going to take about 10 or 15 minutes under a hot broiler. And it'll drain the surplus amount of fat away from it. At the same time, it'll pick up a brown quality on the outside. Now, the browning purpose is to be able to get that kind of... you imagine when you've actually barbecued something, and you smell it, and you get that gorgeous, well, what is it? I mean, it's a sacrificial smell. It's just fabulous smell. Well, that is what we want to actually pick up and put into the stock. Because each one of these little pieces of rice has got to be like a miniature sponge, so I want to be able to get all of this and put all the bones down in the top, plus the fat. The fat, I hear you saying, yes. Well, most of it's been drained out at the bottom, and you'll see that I've got a way of getting rid of it at the end. I just don't want to lose a single speck of the flavor that can come from this. All right. All right, now, is that all? No, not really, because there are 8 cups of liquid here, and it needs a lot of help. So, if you've got good vegetables, and you should use nothing else but good vegetables anyway, and you'll have peel from them, wash them thoroughly beforehand, because earth is not the sort of flavor that I want from this. But all the trim from those, the trim from the onions as well, washed first, and treat it, just say to yourself, if these pieces of rice are going to soak up the flavor, then let it be flavor. Let it be good flavor, good ingredients, always in a stock. Here's some of the seasonings. I've got 4 interesting bay leaves here, fresh bay leaves, and dropped down, and then 1/2 teaspoonful of cumin seed. Now that's cumin seed. Cumin you might have had powdered, and if you like chili powder, half of chili powder, with a cayenne pepper in it as well, is cumin. All right, here's a 1-inch piece of cinnamon, just enough to get a lilting flavor of it, and there are 6 little cloves there, so we'll pop those in too. So all of that stirred up together. This will make a great stock, but how do you do it? Well, for years and years and years, I used to put it on the stove like that, or I used to run around with a pressure cooker or whatever. Could do it within 20 minutes in a pressure cooker, 20, 30. But a couple of hours here, and it would simmer away like this, and it would get in, and Trina would say, the drapes smell of your stock, especially upstairs. And I was not the happiest of married couples, and I'd do anything to be a good husband, just anything. So one day I found the most extraordinary thing. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. It was like a giant thermal container, and if you bring this to the boil, and then put that down into the thermal container, put the lid on, I could put this upstairs with Trina's, things that we don't talk about. And there would be no aroma from them at all. Nothing gets in her curtains at all. Nothing boils down, nothing has to be left on the stove, and there's no electricity on. It was just terrific, sensational. So that does that. Now, at the end of about 4 hours, you just simply open the thing up, and you need to strain it. Oh, by the way, the moment you open it up, you know that something right has happened. You can smell the product. You can smell what you've been up to. And instead of upstairs and all over the house, it's just where you want it, in the saucepan. And the other neat thing is, remember how much water I put in this? Remember that? Let me see whether I can get this out without getting it all over the floor. There. Now, I put in 8 cups of liquid at the end there. Now, this is all the bits and pieces of garbage that I've got there. I'm just getting this out of the sight because you don't want to sit looking at garbage. And it's delicious garbage, but I mean, you don't want to look at it. So, we'll put that in there. And look what I've got. It's dropped about 1 cup, all right? Just out of 8 cups, 1 cup. It would be way down on its knees if I had been doing that. Oh, of course I know. It's just like my tea at the hotel where I stay at. It goes all over the breakfast table every morning. And I keep on complaining to the management. I say, when are you going to get a decent teapot? Oh, I know, they say. It happens every time. Everybody says that. Wouldn't you have a word with the management about it? So, management, Mayflower Hotel in Seattle, teapots! Just in case you're thinking, I've done it. All right, save this for later. Good aroma. Right, so there it is. It's in that strainer there to let the fat come to the surface. Now, watch what I've got done here. Remember how we did this? All right, let's just shake that out. That has simply, I knew I'd miss. that has simply been cooking on that side, just one side only. Now, over here in the fridge, one onion all sliced up and ready to go, and there, straight down into the top. Now, you know, with the onion, there is a fabulous thing that you can do by just popping in 2 tablespoons full of tomato paste, right? And this is called the Maillard reaction. You've probably seen it before, and we're going to do a whole program on this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. You stir that together until it goes quite down dark mahogany color. You then put the meat back on top of it like that. You then get the stock, which you pour from the bottom, so that in fact you've got 2 cups of stock here. So you've got the fat on the top, and you are straining that fat off, which came from it, but you've got 2 cups of stock there. And then that is stirred around together. Now, you don't spice it yet. You cook this for half an hour. Strange as it may seem, just 30 minutes. Now, interesting. I mean, it's really interesting because I'm just thinking about this. If you look at the color there, and remember that I didn't cook it down to the Maillard reaction, and then you look across to this one here, this is the one that's had the 30 minutes cooking, you'll see the radical difference in color between the two. All right. Well, so by looking at that, you realize how important it is to be able to do that particular dish. All right. Now, here I've got some carrots on the go. Let me show you just what's in there. There are a couple of carrots, a 1/4 cup of raisins, just 1 teaspoonful of brown sugar, and 2 tablespoons full of chipped almonds, like that. Now, that's all there is to it. Just perhaps a little bit of stock in the bottom of the fry pan, and just saute those together. I just want to get those onto the heat and get those heated up. Okay, let me just get that pan on the go. Let me have a look at the rice is doing nicely. Everything is fine. Now, I want to get this one up so that it's just on the boil. It's been simmering gently. And at this point, the spices. Now, here are some fascinating spices, and let me just show these to you. We have here, these are the cumin seeds that we had before. So we've got a teaspoonful of those. And then we've got 3 of the cloves again. We've got 2 inches long of cinnamon stick. And this little pod here, which if you try and break open, there you are, I've broken it open with my fingers, you see little tiny seeds that fall out of it. These are cardamom seeds. And these are wonderful things. So just pop all that in together and just run it up. And what's taking place is the little whizzer is going round and round and round. And it's a fabulous idea because, and don't just have a separate one apart from your coffee, otherwise it can be a problem. And what's happening is I'm getting the full flood of the volatile oils from those spices in just a question of seconds. Now, Carol, unfortunately, didn't have one of these, Carol. We'll send you one. They are so good from that point of view. I'm going to put 1.5 teaspoons, that's roughly what I got out of this, in the top of that. I'm going to scatter a little bit extra over the carrots, and I'm going to put a little in here. As a matter of fact, I don't know. Have you got anything? Send it to me. You know, we'll send you by an envelope. Send an envelope. Anyway, so all of that's going nicely now. We just toss that around together, and now we have to thicken it. Now, the thickening takes place with 1 tablespoonful of arrowroot and 2 tablespoons full of water, or it could be stock. I mean, you know, the whole idea is to get as much flavor as possible out of it. So now you just simply draw that to the side of the stove. Remember, standard technique here. Never have it boiling, otherwise you'll make little dumplings. See how quickly that stirs in, and it's ready. I love it. You know, talk about instant food. Look how glossy and fabulous that looks, right? Let's build it, shall we? So you then get a plate out of the oven, hot food, hot plate, cold food, cold plate, and then get a good spoonful and just stir in those spices so that they're well stirred in. Good dollop of that great looking rice there. And I agree, Carol, you know, mostly you would get brown rice in Afghanistan, but doesn't that look nice with a little bit of yellow in it? And then take some of those carrots, which she loved, put them down at the bottom there. Or you can also stir them into the dish itself. And then anoint the top. The smell that's coming off this is just fantastic. It's got a great aroma. And Carol, came up with a fantastic idea to me. She said, why don't you try a little strained yogurt and garlic and some mint and just pop that on the top. So we did it. You know, it's just 1 clove of garlic smashed, half a cup of strained yogurt, and about a tablespoonful and a half of mint. Just like that. Very nice. Come through, let you see how it tastes. Ha! The entire studio here is full of aroma. It is just sensational. All right, now this is the dish which Carol sent me in the first place with the brown rice. This is the one here with, of course, the yellow rice. And basically the same dish, but I think you see, you know, how the yellow sort of helps. And $4,000 a pound. Should do, shouldn't it? All right, 899 calories, Carol, was yours. This comes in at 662. 47 grams of fat gets down this way to 16. 8 of saturated fat down to 5. 47 calories, 47% of calories from fat then drops to 22%, which means that it could be eaten by someone practicing prevention. Cholesterol, 70. This goes up a little bit with 104. That's a third of the day's supply. Sodium, 472. Not too bad. And carbohydrates, 85. As a matter of fact, I'd probably sprinkle a little extra sodium on the rice because I wouldn't for Trina, but then I would have the salt shaker there, and when she wasn't looking, I'd just put a little bit on there. See, I think as a husband, I shouldn't be eating things that would put her, to make her tempted. Understand? Excuse me, man. Oh, that's so good. Carol, bless your heart. That's so good. And Carol, this has been wonderful working with you, darling. I mean, I really appreciated how you wrote back to me and said, I think it's bland. We went back and we started working with it and started edging all these flavors together, and now it sort of tingles. It's wonderful. So I really appreciate that. There's so much, you know, in giving each other permission to work, to be able to create things that don't put ourselves at risk. That's springboarding, isn't it? By the way, this is the extra meal, you know, the thing that we try and do by cooking just a bit more than we actually might need, and then freezing it. Now, always where it's got meat in it, it always defrosts in the fridge. So defrost it in the bag, and then open them up. And here we've got a pocket idea. And this is an interesting kind of concept. You don't freeze it with, always save the bags, by the way. You don't freeze it with chutney in it, but this is a chutney here. It's a British idea. And you just put a little of that chutney in the center of these little pockets, and then drop them down into a toaster oven. Oh, well, not oven, but a regular toaster. All right. Now, let me show you actually what I did. I had the surplus rice and the whole of the mix that we did, you know, sort of make the whole thing up ahead of time and do a double up, do double or triple perhaps. I think you'll enjoy this idea. And then put it into a small food processor like this one, watch it, and then stop it after 10, 15 seconds. Doesn't take long, does it? Then you've got this magnificent mix. It looks rather like tabbouleh, you know, which is a fabulous salad. And but this is with lamb in it as well, and with the rice. And so you just put a couple of really good spoonfuls into the center of a pocket, spread it all out, and then put that into one of these little baggy things, put the name on it, and then when your son comes back, Michael, when you're, you know, 17 and out by 9:30 at night and you're home, then you can whiz back here like this and take one of these out and defrost it. Of course, you'll have to wait overnight. No, you could defrost it quickly on the microwave thing, and then bingo. Okay, up it comes. Now, when you do this, always make sure that you take Always make sure that you take the wire out before you plunge a pair of these little fellas into the top of a toaster. Never have the plug in when the toaster comes. All right, so here it is. This becomes a hot pita sandwich with a little bit of chutney in it. Oh, and by the way, if you're having your girlfriend in, it may happen. It will happen. You can always put a little fan of strawberry with kiwi fruit on the side. You see, that'll impress her. Boy, that'll impress her. It's delicious, actually. Works very well. Okay, thanks for being with me once again. God bless. Well, Carol, Michael, thanks a bundle. I mean, that really was neat. And the aromas are still coming off this. I'm going to enjoy the washing up. Chin chin.